So Flo's here with the French papers. You're starting off, aren't you, talking about the government's reaction, if you like, to this much anticipated pension reform.
That's right. Let's start with the business paper, Les Echos, which says that the government's choice is to raise contributions. So instead of raising the minimum age of retirement, which is currently at 62, the government will raise contributions by both employees and employers over the next 4 years. So basically, as you know, pension reform is one of the most thorniest issues here in France.
Slight hot potato, isn't it?
It's a slight hot potato. It's very controversial, so the papers are all over it today. 20 Minutes says that the government is using the contribution lever. Now, not only will workers and business owners have to contribute more, they're going to have to contribute over a longer period of time. And Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien says this very simply. We will contribute for a longer period of time. There it is on the front page. 43 years to be exact by 2035.
Not everybody thrilled about this reform, perhaps not surprisingly. As we said, it is a hot potato, especially, of course, those on the far left.
That's right. Let's look at the L'Humanité, the communist paper, which says that Hérault, so the prime minister, this is a backwards maneuver for him. It's kind of tricky here because even though the government didn't raise the minimum age of retirement, since it's making people contribute for a longer amount of time, it means that a lot of people are going to have to work a lot longer and probably past the age of 62. So L'Humanité says that this is kind of tricky. It says that Hérault is really eating into the hands of business owners, listening more to business owners than to workers. And here you can say that they're calling on people to really come and demonstrate in this on September 10th in that demonstration against the government's pension reform.
Other critics saying it's a small reform for what is a big problem.
That's right. La Croix, the Christian paper, says that this is a modest reform. The government is facing this really big challenge, though, and that's to trim the annual shortfall in the pension budget that's projected to hit 20 billion euros in 2020. La Croix tries to look at the context here. Why is the government making this modest reform? Well, La Croix says we really have to keep in mind the fact that, France is perhaps about to see somewhat of a mini economic recovery, so the government probably doesn't want to nip that in the bud. Also, the government wants to avoid any kind of outbreak of social conflict as has been the case in the past. So the government is playing it safe here, and instead of being the major reform that it was announcing, this is just a temporary reform, according to La Croix.
Awful lot of criticism, perhaps not surprisingly, from the right as well.
That's right. Surprise, surprise. Let's look at L'Opinion, the pro-business paper, that says that the government has taken the easy way out, and it's put off any major reform until 2021. Who knows who will be in power then? Le Figaro says this is a mini reform, and in their editorial, Le Figaro says that the government has completely discarded the big reform that everybody was waiting for, the big reform that it was bragging about all summer. There's no real structural reform here. There's no real change. This government has no political courage, says Le Figaro. In their editorial there you see this wonderful French expression, courage, fuyons. So let's be courageous and run away. So that's what Le Figaro says about the government's doing here.
Now, the other big story in the French papers, inevitably, of course, is the situation in Syria, isn't it?
That's right. It's on the front page of Libération today that takes a look. War in Syria, what's the point? Now, Paris, Washington, and London are ready to intervene militarily in Syria, but there's still a lot of blurry elements here about the operation, and especially what the goal of this operation would be. In their editorial, Libération says, why are we intervening now? Using chemical weapons is, of course, an abomination, but why is this the red line? Libération says Bashar al-Assad has been massacring his people for 2.5 years now. 100,000 people have died. So why be indignant now? Libération says the West's indignation seems rather selective and a little late, according to Libération. And also, who's going to benefit from these targeted strikes? The idea is to punish Bashar al-Assad, but it's unclear whether, who's this going to help? The opposition? How is this going to work out? Libération has a lot of questions and no answers.
That's what the French newspapers are saying today with Flo Villemaneau. Thanks very much. And that was today's French papers. All the very latest news coming up, of course, the latest situation on Syria with you right after the break. Do stay with us if you can.